Yeah,
I think it's
I think as a mom, like, I don't know, for me, when I became a mom, it's all about comfort now. Like, I
yeah.
kind of let style like fly out the window. So it was nice when I could discover, these dresses and stuff that were, friendly for nursing. Because most dresses, if they're friendly for nursing, they're too low for me. So,
Mhm.
it was fun to discover these dresses and be able to, bring them out to everybody and stuff. So be less
Yeah.
frumpy.
Yeah, and yeah, not look frumpy because that's, it can happen, right? Just being comfortable and stuff, but it's nice to be able to look, presentable and, also look nice for my husband and stuff. Like maybe he's working all day and then, we're hanging out at church per se, like that's where we're gonna see each other. I don't want to be like, oh hey, but I'm comfortable, I want to also look kind of nice for him, do a little effort, so
Yes, yes. I think it's easy to forget, when you date, you do yourself up and you do your hair all nice and you make sure you look good. But then as the years go on, sometimes you can let that slide. So it's
mhm.
always good to remember, like, oh, I should kind of put some effort in. So very good.
So the last thing I have that it's not, I guess it's not like a need, it's more like, hey, this is really great, is one of these. It's like an off-brand hacker, like not the official thing, but I just find that this is really nice. Even though I'm not nursing, I know a lot of ladies use this for the other side and everything. For me, if I've had issues where I don't have, like one time our car was having an issue and I didn't have my battery pack with me, and so I can't use my pump in that situation. I just use this and I can get milk out of it as well. So I think this is a great option for that, or especially in the beginning when I was still regulating and stuff like that. It's great for getting out clogs because it can be difficult a little bit sometimes because you don't have the baby to help you like in the nursing process. So there are just different ways you can put hot water in here and just kind of help get some relief going. um so that way as you regulate, you can get more comfortable. And so yeah, I found this just really nice, and I keep this as well all the time with me in my milk bag, so that way in the event that we need it, I just always have it on hand, and it's really useful to me.
That's really smart. I used to have back in the day with my first, I had a hand pump one, that you would just
Mhm.
squeeze like this. So my question, because I've never used that brand,
Mhm.
do you squeeze it then to get the pump, or do you just squeeze it and suction it and then it just draws milk out? How does it work exactly? Like, as far as, do you have to like hand pump it?
Yeah, so I'm gonna take out the little stopper here. So basically I will put it upside down and then I'll um squish it this way and I'm gonna suction it to myself. And then after that, I'm gonna use it as a pump in that way. Now in the beginning, like let's say I just want to pump one side and I can have this on the other side, or even, sometimes I would try to kind of get my supply up just like, hey, you know what, I'm just reading. Let me just try to have this, causing some demand on my body per se. I would just do that as well. You can just suction it there and leave it, and it will cause some demand, some milk to come out. But for pumping, you just use it as such. And it's really easy. I've gotten 2-3 ounces out just like in the regular time that I would use my pump. um it is a little bit, obviously you're just like keeping going and stuff like that, but to me, I'm like, it was invaluable for when our car wasn't working, and I'm like, I needed this. I was uncomfortable, and I'm like, I'm just so glad I just decided to buy this and have this in the bag, and that was the perfect moment.
Yeah, well, and maybe too, even if there isn't like an area you can go to pump, but you're somewhere, you can still put on your cover and just hand, pump it. So that's also a good option if you're like on the go somewhere, or there's just, you can't stop, or there's no place to plug in. So that's awesome. And then did you have other like non-necessity things that you like, or do you feel like what you have is just like necessity?
Yeah, so I would say a lot of these, like, it's not like if you don't have the haka like that, it wouldn't be like, wow, like I couldn't live without it, because my Medel pump does come with a battery pack, and there are different ways you could just find somewhere to go. But I would say some of them are more um they're really convenient for that. They're not necessarily like needs. Or even having like, I have multiple covers, just like I have multiple like baby ring accessories, but really like only one is necessary per se. So I feel like it's like a mix of things, like or like the extension cord. I don't think that's like necessary, but these are things that I've just found in my experience have been really helpful. And just, I pumped at many places, restaurants, like just depending what, what our schedule was. So it was just easy to have these things to make it more comfortable for me and to give that ease. So
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So we'd say necessity is you have to have a pump of some sort, whether that be a hand pump or an electric pump. And then usually the electric pumps do come with bottle attachments. If they didn't, then you would want obviously a bottle. So that's necessity. And then all these other things are really helpful. Like I think, for me, I think they would be necessity because it's just about making it easier for you and what's going to make it doable. Because, if it's hard, we're less likely to do things. But
right.
if we make it easier, we're more likely to do it and stick through with it. So I loved all those tips you gave. And then let's see, I was going to ask you about, this is kind of one that I even put on the list. So did you have support as far as like deciding to go this route? What kind of resources? Like, did you read books? Did you just search online? Like, how did you figure out how to do this and make it work?
Yeah, so I would say probably the best source that I've had is like Facebook groups online for exclusive pumping moms. Even in the beginning when I was still trying to establish a latch and I was just, just getting those resources of seeing like what everybody's doing and just being able to learn from other ladies. And even, I've been able to message like on there and also, maybe um, the admins just kind of like, hey, I have this question, maybe it's more personal, like, whatever comfort level you feel. I just feel like that's been really helpful. Also, my lactation consultant, although, I wasn't able to latch, she was really helpful, just kind of helping me with support and just being an encouragement to me. I did get some unkind comments, because I wasn't nursing or just people not being as understanding. And so I think it's really important to, surround yourself with people like, hey, we're all doing it here. You can, see everybody else, like what they're doing that day, or, even something as simple as like, I got on the pumping group and I'm like, oh man, this lady's talking about what snacks she's having while pumping today. And, I think that it's just a big encouragement. And also definitely my husband, he's just really, really an encouragement to me and a blessing. And so, it was really hard for me in the beginning. Like now and I've always been thankful for it, but now I'm like good with it. And I'm like, oh, I'm pumping and everything. But in the beginning, it was really hard for me, as a first time mom, just wanting to nurse and not, having that experience. And, he was just with me to really encourage me and to be like, what, you're doing this for Ezra. And like, you're doing awesome. And just, that was really, important to me. So, and, I'm always as well, if someone's on this journey and, you don't know like what, what's the best groups to be in, or, you don't have that encouragement, like, maybe, you have family members that don't understand, or, whatever the situation, like, hey, you can always DM me. Like I do this all the time. And, I have the experience now where I feel really comfortable and, I would hope I could be an encouragement to someone for that. So.
Yes, I think that's very encouraging because it is hard. And I think motherhood in general, I think we all have our struggles and we all have things that we're trying to do better in, and we can get lost in comparison or our ideals, and so I like the idea of good, better, best, and of course, like breast milk's great because of the nutrition, and the easiest way to like get that to baby is nursing. But then like what's next, well, pumping's awesome because then you're getting that nutrition still to the baby. And like you're saying, like when they're sick, like, it's changing and doing what it needs to do for their body and, just healing them and making them healthier. And then, there is formula for people who can't do either of those, maybe it is too overwhelming and stressful for you to pump, and that's okay. Like, I think whatever works for you in this situation, a fed baby is a fed baby. And, so it is really hard though, like when you are torn down for those different things. I know like I've had comments just because I do nurse my babies over one, and people have been like, oh, are you going to be done nursing that baby? And I'm like, nope. And initially when I first had my kids and I was younger, it was harder for me to receive like criticism like that. But now I'm like, whatever, like, people are, if they judge you, there's something wrong with them, So let's go on to scheduling. How did you figure out? Because like with a newborn, what it's like every 2 hours you're supposed to be feeding them, and so like getting up in the middle of the night, did you set alarm clocks like around the clock, and like just kind of go over how you scheduled and how you made sure you stayed in that schedule and didn't like lose track of time?
Yeah. So I would, it's every 2 to 3 hours. Typically in the beginning, it's every two. Like I just try to be a little bit more demanding because it is different than nursing. I would set alarms on my phone and it was round the clock, always pumping. Now I feel like when Ezra was a newborn, it was a little easier in the sense that he's already waking up, like, crying or something. So it's like, all right, I'm going to pump. And now that, he's sleeping, um, most of the night, or, unless he's like fussy or something, it's just me kind of like, okay, my alarm went off. And I'm just like, reading a book or something in the dark, trying to stay awake and active. So I typically set, when I finish pumping for the night, I'll set my alarm a few hours later when I'm going to pump. And then after that time, like if I miss it, I set it every hour after that. Cause it can be hard to wake up sometimes, especially just now that it's like solo per se, because he's not awake. So that really helped me. And then other than that, I know there are different apps out there that some of the ladies in those pumping groups use that can be helpful. Me personally, I found it stressful to keep track of like ounces and times and everything. That was just me. And so I actually just have, this might sound funny, but I have a Facebook Messenger like message with myself. And I just put end pump. And then, 2 hours later, 3 hours later, I'm like, okay, next time. So just to me, it's just, I was trying to keep track of everything in the beginning, and that was just so stressful. And I was like, you know what, it's just me talking to me. So it's just easier.